Everyone, how are you doing? Welcome back to another episode of McCall Media TV Live. Now, it's a Saturday afternoon, so not normally the time that I would go live, but that's because I've literally needed like the best part of today to play and tinker in order to be able to bring you today's video topic. Okay, so we are talking about how I configured my DSLR camera to become my webcam, what you can see right now. And just to prove that I am working with my webcam right now, we'll do an auto zoom. There you go. My camera's just figuring out what to do. And there we go. So we've now got the best quality of focus. So without further ado, just remember I am live today across all my social media platforms, including YouTube, Twitter / Periscope, my various Facebook groups and Facebook page. And this is how you can find out more about me. Okay, so the very first thing that you are going to want to do if you are going to turn your camera into a webcam is to find out if your computer is capable of dealing with the audio feed that it's going to send to it. So the first thing we need to do is find out. She says I'm jumping ahead of myself. Is essentially we are going to talk about the USB cable in just a second. But first of all, I wanted to just point out to you guys, I'm sorry about that, that essentially if you start Googling about this problem or you go looking at YouTube videos, everybody's going to tell you you are going to need a capture card. Now, the most common talked about capture card on the market generally comes up in conversation as being the camlink. The camlink in the UK is about £120 US dollars. It's around about the $150 US dollars mark. And as a new or small YouTuber, that is actually quite a lot of money to invest in something that you're not sure if you're going to go with the flow or not and stick with it. So for the rest of us sort of mere mortals who don't have thousands of fans, followers and all that jazz, we have to work with the tools that we have available to us, which sometimes means we have to think outside the box, which is what the solution is that I'm going to feed to you guys now essentially. So I was jumping ahead of myself just a moment there, but if we get rid of that and go on to the second point, is we have to check that our computer is capable of dealing with this, because we're not going to use that capture card that basically is going to do all the work of converting that signal and feed from our cameras into sort of communication that our computers can deal with and up the grade to like a 4K quality and all that jazz. We have to make sure that the ports on our computers are going to be able to sustain and do this for us. So the first thing we need to do is check our computers. Now, if this all goes to plan, you should be seeing my control panel here. So we're going to dive in behind the scenes right now as to what is going on with basically my computer. So the way that we check this, you'd need to go to your control panel and then look at the hardware and sound. Now I've already got that set up on my computer, and that will basically bring up, let me just go back one step. This is the problem when you do everything live. You click on hardware and sound, and then you will see this device manager setting just here. When you open up the device manager, you're going to see all of the different assets, hardware, software, all the bits and pieces that you need on your computer installed, and it's all listed alphabetically. And what we need to do is go right down to this very bottom bit, which says Universal Serial Bus Controllers. Now take a guess at that being the USB aspect. And then what we have to do is we look at all the different ports on your computer. Now, I have a custom built PC with 8 USB ports. There are more than 8 listed here, and I'm not too sure why that is, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to affect what I'm teaching you guys today. So basically what we need to do, I'm just going to make sure everything is still working fine and dandy. Bear with me just one second. There we go. Okay, so what we are going to do over here on the left-hand side is we're going to look for anything that basically has 3.0 listed. Now, you could also be looking for anything that sort of references XHCI. And if you look here, that's X, the X is extensible host controller. So that is another term for a USB 3.0 port. And as you can see, I've got one at the bottom and one just there. So out of all of the different USB ports on my computer, I've got at least 2 that will be able to cope with the stream of data coming from my camera. Now, just to give you a quick heads up as to what this is actually meaning, a USB 2 port basically, and I wrote my notes down because I knew I wasn't going to remember this live, so you've got my nice little clipboard for me. A USB 2 port transfers data at 400 megabytes per second, okay, 480 I should say megabytes per second, whereby a USB 3 port transfers or receives in data 10 times faster, which is at 480 gigabytes per second. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean much to layman terms, but if you was to think of a tube being about sort of that size and how much, say, water you could get down it versus a tube with sort of, let me just change my screen. So say, for example, we had a tube that was about this size, you could only get so much water down it at any amount of time. And then if we had a tube that was twice the size, there was a lot more space for there to be a lot more water. If you're thinking of the water as the data, this is essentially what the power of these different USB ports means. So if you've got a USB port 2 and that's all you can find and identify, this is probably not going to be a technique that's going to work for you. The other thing that I actually want to say as well is that the reason that I can basically work this process into my computer is that I've actually got my microphone cabled directly into a USB port on the back of my computer. So my microphone is not feeding into my camera. And that's a really important aspect as well. Because we're not using that capture card, a lot of the tasks that this essentially does isn't available to us. So we're kind of hacking the system, as it were, and going around the houses to get the same solution, but without necessarily spending £120 on the capture card. So it's really important that you have the ability to plug in your microphone directly into your computer, bypassing your camera entirely. Okay, so this actually means then we have to think about the camera setup itself, because we also need to have the cable that connects our camera and data feed. That also has to be a USB 3 cable. Now, my camera works with a mini B port, okay, and I don't have a spare cable to be able to show you right now, but just to give you an idea, I don't think I can even ping that out now. USB mini B or a micro B are 2 different things. So for example, a micro B port, if you have a Kindle, is generally the cable that goes into your Kindle and will allow you to charge your Kindle, for example. And it's a very slightly different shape to the micro, that is the micro cable, very slightly different shape to the mini B. So don't get those 2 confused. If you're going to go on Amazon and you're going to check these things out, I will put some links below as well, some of the kit that I've had to purchase. But you do need to make sure that you look very carefully at the shape of the jack, the port that you're going to be putting into your camera, and make sure that you get the right cable, and the cable itself must be a USB 3.0 cable, because obviously, like we just said, data flow. So that's probably as confusing and complex as it gets with regards to the camera setup, other than the fact that we need to also just think about the camera power supply. Now, this is why I've got my mobile phone set up as a mobile webcam. So if you bear with me just 1 second. Right, there we go. Okay, so if you look at my Digital SLR camera right now, you can see that it's all kind of set up on the back of my computer and the ring light and all that jazz. In fact, actually, I haven't even got the softbox on my camera right now, on my ring light. But the reason I'm showing you this right now is because this is an absolute nightmare to set up because of the space between my wall and the back of my monitor here being too narrow. So when I was setting up my ring light and I was trying to twist the ring light into the little gadget, the little jack down here, or whatever this is called, I couldn't turn the ring light, so I actually had to dismantle my monitor. Now, if you guys are going to be doing something similar, hopefully you've got a lot more space than myself, and you don't have this same challenge. But what that essentially meant for me is that every time I want to put in a new battery, I would literally had to dismantle my monitor, unscrew everything so I could turn the camera, get to and it was just like hell, absolute hell. So this literally then brings me on to having to talk to you guys about your power feed. Now, if you look carefully again at my camera up here, and I'm just going to try and do this without blinding you. I know that ring light's real strong, but I couldn't do this and show you with the cables. But this here, oh, I'm trying to get my fingers out of the way. I'm so sorry. This here is a power feed that goes into the camera. Now, when you come to, let me just put my screen back so I can put my camera down. I'll be back. We're back in the house. Okay, so what this means is when you are looking at your batteries for your cameras, your digital SLRs, you're going to need to buy a continuous power feed. So let me just bring this back onto my mobile so I can show you this in real close up. So if you look at my battery here, okay, let me just get it in focus. You can see up here it's got LPE8. That is actually kind of like the serial number for my battery, and obviously it's at 7.4 volts. It's important that you make sure that the little device power supply that you purchase is compatible with your camera so that you don't screw up your camera when you try and insert it, and obviously that the power supply is the same feed so that you don't overheat your camera. Okay, and again, I found all of this stuff off of Amazon really easily. So let me just put me back on the screen. Right, so breathe. Okay, so that basically then means we've got the camera power. So we've got continuous power to the camera, we've got the data feed into the camera. We're going to talk about the fact that you also need to possibly make sure that you've got your SD camera card in there. Now, you're not going to be saving data to the SD card, but without it in the camera might not give you the functionality. I did actually forget to test this, but I'm sort of playing off of memory in the back here now, because I'm pretty sure I've had this issue when I tried to tinker with this once before many moons ago. So just, you can try it either with or without, but you're not actually going to be saving any data to the memory, to the camera card. So that should all be good. I'm just going to make sure, because I think my, oh no, it's not moving. I thought it was moving. Okay, so when we've done all of that, I'm just going to quickly now mention my lens, because my lens is a she says, let me bring up my mobile again and I can show you, but it's essentially, I'm just reading it, it's an EF-S 18 to 55 millimeter, which means the aperture, or I think that's the right word, because I'm not a camera tech, I'm a PC techie person, drops down as low as a 3.5 aperture. She's going to say, somebody I know is going to tell me I've got the wrong details, but I do kind of know what I'm talking about, because let me just bring my mobile phone back into play. Okay, so if we go in real close here, and I'm trying to hold my camera really still for you so you can see. Let me just get it into position because my other camera's in the way. So there you go, you can see my lens on my camera and you can read it for yourself. So all you camera geeks out there that know that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about right now, I do apologize. I have been researching and playing with this. Now, what essentially this means is that in the world of, say, an estate agent, if you were taking photos of people's houses and rooms and living rooms, you're going to want quite a wide lens to get everything in, especially if you're in a small box room like this. So this kind of lens is perfect for that kind of task. And as you can see behind me, oh, I haven't put my little light on. Let me just correct myself. So eager to do the live. There we go. Gotta have my lights on. Right. So what that actually means behind me is, if you can see now, I am in focus and I can show you the control panel in just a moment, but I'm just going to refocus because I've been bobbing around. There you go. So you can see that I'm like sort of crystal clear clarity, shall we say. And then I've got that nice bokeh effect, which is the technical term that I do know, for like the camera setting behind me, where the background fades into more of like a blur, as it were. So it helps the user or the viewer of your video kind of hone their eyes in on you as the presenter, which is why the YouTubers that are like the big boys out there playing with, you know, millions of people on their channels have all the really nice kit to give this effect, because it really does up your game and make you that much more sort of serious as a presenter, because people know you've got the right kit and that you're actually sort of bringing your level up, as it were. And that's what you're going to do. You want to give that user that really good quality experience. Now, the only thing that I need to do in the future is that I am actually going to probably play with getting myself a different lens, because what I understand is that the lower I drop my aperture, and obviously I can only go as low as 3.5 with this particular lens. So if I can get down to like a 1.2 or a 1.4 kind of exposure on my aperture on my camera lens, what that means is that I would even have even better clarity and focus to you, and even the more blurry type bokeh effect going on behind me. So that's something to bear in mind. How this effect works will be down to your cameras and the lens that you are using. So you might also need to play. Now, the good thing is I am talking a little bit about what I don't know, because I am not a camera techie geek, as it were. I do like my PC sort of gadgets and gizmos, but I am going to be interviewing a lovely chap from the States in about 3-4 weeks time who is a camera guru. And don't worry, I am going to rinse his brain for all of the knowledge that I could possibly muster with regards to getting the right type of lens for this camera in the future. So now that we've actually got the camera set up, we've got the feed going into our computer and everything there is hunky-dory, what we actually need to do now is install the drivers for the camera on the computer. So this means that we actually have to install something called an EOS utility. And I just realized I've just spelled that wrong, so I do apologize, guys. But essentially what that means is we've got to get the drivers onto our computer so our computer knows how to work our camera. And I'm going to flip my screen and you guys are going to think, whoa, what the hell is going on? But I'm just going to show you my right hand side monitor here, because this is what I see. This is just one of my monitors whilst I'm streaming live. Honestly, the amount of controls that I've got going on right now, you think I'd be waving in a Boeing 747 or something from outer space. But if you look carefully at this particular window, this is my live feed, and all I've done is I've cropped out all of this busyness just so that you can see me proper like on the front and center bit here. Okay, so go back to my right screen. So what we've got going on up here, this is like kind of the EOS utility. This is basically my camera's kind of control panel, but now it gives me the ability to control my camera without having to touch it directly, because I've got my mouse and I can control it using this here. So as an example, you can see my mouse now on the screen. When I was focusing in, I've got the face detection mode live on. It's off at the moment. My camera is an older model, so it doesn't have the autofocus without me physically clicking this button. Hopefully one day when the pennies start rolling in from my YouTube channel, I will upgrade my camera. But it does mean that whilst I'm sat here right now, I can still make sure I am fully in focus by just clicking that little on button, and you could see everything that was going on and taking effect right there. Okay, and just out of curiosity, because I know people are going to ask, you can also see here my Zoom feed, which is basically a Zoom meeting that actually is capturing my mobile phone footage at the moment. So if I stick my hand around the back here somewhere, she says you will be able to see my fingers. There we go. And at the moment, obviously, you're looking at my lovely iPhone, my watch there. So let's just flick this around, and then you can get to see me from down here as well. Look at that. Everything's going on. So you get the whole effect of what's going on in Angela's world right now. So now that we know what we need to do. We need to get this software. How on earth do you do it? So there is a little bit of a hack involved with this. So first of all, let me just set up my other screen, because I am going to have to show you something in what is called your registry editor on your computer. If you don't know how to do that or bring that up, I'm just going to go to my left-hand side screen now. If you literally go into the little let me just show you my center screen. So this is my other screen, and this is why it gets really confusing. So this is StreamYard, and this over here is OBS. So anyway, ignore everything that's going on the screen. Follow my cursor. If you go right down into the corner of my screen, you'll see the little search bar, as it were. If you literally put in reg edit, there you go. You can see the register edit tab, and you can click on open, and that is the screen that you are going to see now. So let's get rid of that. Okay. So what we've got going on over here, this is basically all of the files, sort of drivers, and all of the stuff that you install on your computer when you load in new software. This is where it gets stored. So big word of advice here: do not touch anything in other than the steps that I'm going to tell you, because you will utterly screw up your camera. You'll turn your computer even. You'll turn your computer off, and God knows what it is that you've done. If you fiddle with anything that you shouldn't do in this particular folder and location, you will be in a lot of trouble next time you try and turn your computer back on. So with that piece of advice, let's just look at what we've got to do. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because we are going to have to install something in a minute, and it's not going to work because of the fact that we don't actually have the CD for my camera. In fact, I've probably jumped a wee bit of a step here. So let me just bring up a screen here. And if you was to go to EOS utility, there we go. It should come up. Let's have a look. Canon. Yes, there, right. So let me just recap a little bit. This is how you would install the drivers on your computer when you don't have the disk available. Okay, so essentially when you're in here, you would select your product. So I've got a 550D camera, and then what it's going to do is I would download this. It would come, obviously it's going to ask me to accept it. Up here in the right hand corner, I don't know if you can quite see that, but let me just bring my, there we go. And just let me rearrange my screen because I've zoomed in so that you can see everything else. But if you can look here, you'll see that this is now downloading. I'm not obviously going to do this right now because of the fact that I am obviously live and everything's there. But there you can see the file, and then what you would need to do is you would basically unzip it and run it. But when you've done that, you will then be presented with a box that won't let you go any further because you haven't actually got the physical CD in your computer, and so you can't access the rest of the commands. So this is the hack that I was basically trying to show you to get around that. So if you're in your reg edit or your registry here, okay, you first of all want to find the folder which is called hkey_local_machine. Once you've done that, there is going to be loads and loads of subfolders. The one that you're after is the one that says software, and then you are literally going to go all the way down this software until you find one that is literally called WOW 6432 node. Okay, let me just move my screen just a little bit so you can see that. That's fine. Okay, now this folder here, Canon on ESO utility, are the two folders that we are going to create. Obviously, I've already created that in order to use my camera. When you get to this WOW 6432 node folder, this won't exist. So this is what you need to do. So click on WOW and then right click. So make sure it's selected, and you're going to highlight new, and you're going to go to key, and it's literally going to put a key down here for you, and you would name this one Canon, exact same spelling as I've got showing you on the screen right now. Then when you have got that one done, you can right click on that folder, click on new, click on key again, and it will put another key inside that folder. And this time what you want to do is make sure it is called exactly EOS space utility with the capital U. Once you've done that, the setup, when you run that exe file that we've just downloaded, will finish. And then once you've done that, you will literally be able to play with your software just like it is now. So basically, if I was to open up my screen full, this is what it looks like in full. Okay, the only reason that I have mine mirrored is because obviously at the moment I'm using my mobile phone and I needed the other Zoom camera to be open. But essentially you can see what's going on right now on the screen, and all I've done normally for my DSLR, if you can look at the lines here, see where my cursor is in my OBS software, all I've done is I've now cropped this image to show you. Oh, this perspective, and it's all gone wrong. I don't know what I'm looking at now. Oh, it's because I've got this large, isn't it? There we go. So there we go. We're back in the screen. Okay, so this is why there's a lot of settings and things going on that I need to explain on another video with regards to OBS. But this was about getting you up and running with your digital SLR. Now, there is only, so that was the reg edit hack that we've just done. The only other thing that you need to bear in mind, in fact, actually, we've just skipped a couple of things. So we did the EOS utility installation where I've done the spelling wrong. Then we've got the reg edit hack so that we can fool our computer into thinking the CD's in our drive. And then what we've got going on now is the last thing. Now, you can't see this unless actually, I wonder if you can. Oh, very carefully. Maybe you can, but this is my live stream feed right now in StreamYard. So I've got OBS doing a lot of the controls that you see and all the little flickers to things like, there you go, it's popping up everywhere. So that's my subscribe button. All of that is kind of being controlled by OBS and my Stream Deck, and that is feeding in to my StreamYard so that I can do the multi-streaming, because what I was finding is when I was doing this live myself through YouTube, there was a lot of lag going on, and so I'm just basically picking off the StreamYard servers at the moment and letting them do the work. But the reason I'm showing you this screen, up here in the left-hand corner, we have a little red thing saying I have been live on this broadcast for 24 minutes and around 16, 17 seconds right now. When you are using a digital SLR camera in the way that we are right now, it is a camera and not a video camera. And I think From what I've understood on various forums, there is some sort of legislation existing about how a camera can only be a camera or class as a camera if it doesn't allow any more than 30 minutes worth of movie filming stuff. So I'm getting quite close to the limit here, because I've got literally probably about 3 minutes left before my camera is going to literally turn off. Now, there is a hack. I haven't implemented it yet because I haven't researched it yet, but all I have been able to find out is that I need to install some software called a Magic Lantern. I know nothing more about it other than that from what I've understood in various forums. And at some point in the near future, when I've got all my ducks in a row and I've done my homework and I make sure that this software isn't going to be installed on my computer and completely cock it all up, I will do a sort of follow-up to this, so that I can basically go live on my camera and start using my camera on like networking meetings and things like that, because at the moment I can't. I can only use it for these live streams because I've got this 30-ish minute window of what I can and cannot do before the camera turns itself off. So that kind of brings me to the end of today. I know there was quite a lot involved and I did jump around a little bit, but essentially, to bring up a summary, we have basically got to, first of all, the idea of this is that you're doing it without the camlink card or a capture card, because they're quite expensive. And the only way this will work is if you make sure that your microphone is plugged directly into your computer and not your camera. Then you need to make sure on your computer that the USB port itself that you plug into is a 3.0 port, and then you have to find the cable that is also a 3.0 USB cable, and you just need to make sure that you are using the right jack on the other end to connect into your camera. For example, mine is a mini B. Don't get that confused with a micro B. And if you ask me in the comments below, I will help you best I can. So once we've done that, I've then needed to make sure I had a continuous power supply. By the way, all these cables, like £10–15 ago, as opposed to 120 quid on a camlink card. I mean, I think I paid £8 for my actual cable, and I paid about £12 for the power source. So we're looking at 20 quid as a fix for this. Just thought I'd throw that in there. I did not test, but I have a sort of a strong hunch that this will only work if you've got your SD memory card installed. Even though we're not actually going to use it, it just means that the features on the camera become enabled. And obviously my lens at the moment that I'm working with, in order to give you this effect in this small box room, is an 18–55mm lens, which drops down to an aperture of 3.5, and that was what I was just going to quickly show you. Let me just bring it back up. So if you look over here, 5.3, when I click on this, it basically gives me a little, I think I'm going to run out of time any second. Oh, it's gone. Why aren't you playing games with me? There you go. So I can scroll right or I can scroll left. Now, obviously, left means I get further and further away, and it's not going to do what I need it to do, but I can't go any lower than 3.5. So there we go. And then finally, what we have got going on, we then need to install the EOS utility drivers on our computer. If you don't have the CD, then you will need to go and do that reg edit hack that I've just showed you, where things just kind of went out of sequence a little bit. And then finally, just remember, I'm at 27 minutes and 55 seconds. You've probably got a 30-minute window before your camera turns off. And that kind of brings us to the end of today. I hope that makes sense. Please put your comments below. This was really quite technical to do on a live stream. All these videos that you watch on YouTube, they'll have pre-recorded all these little bits and then kind of edited it all together. But I thought, why not go live and, you know, go large if you're going to go live, right? So anyway, please do support my channel. Please do subscribe, stay notified, and that's it from me. And I will talk to you on my next video in the next couple of days, I should imagine, with some other hints, tips, and strategies for your video marketing expertise and success. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you very soon.